I am a master of domestic intrigue, yet I find myself wed to a husband consumed by romantic fantasies. My mother-in-law embodies an innocent naivety. My myriad skills seem utterly futile, and I languish in solitude, seeking an elusive victory. One fateful day, however, my father-in-law's former beloved reappears, leaving my mother-in-law a mere shadow of her former self. It appears the excitement has arrived. I was originally raised in an orphanage. Upon entering society, I fell victim to the machinations of my boss's legitimate wife, who mistakenly accused me of being her husband's mistress. Unsatisfied with my untimely demise, I was chosen by a system to embark on a quest within various narratives. Fueled by my discontent regarding the circumstances of my previous life, I diligently navigated through 80 tales of domestic strife, achieving success in every single one and accumulating an abundance of points. Consequently, the system that had bound me was upgraded to a higher tier. Before my departure, it imparted a parting message. Wang Suihua, you truly are remarkable. If cast into the world of Zhan Huanzhuan, you would undoubtedly thrive as a noble consort. Due to your outstanding performance, I have specifically requested an opportunity for you to be reborn in another realm. Cherish your life in this new existence. Thus, I found myself reborn. My mother is a princess, while my father stands as a formidable general. Yet, I willingly relinquished military authority to the princess, all in the name of true love. For over a decade, not only have there been no rival concubines, but my siblings have also refrained from inciting jealousy, remaining singularly devoted. This idyllic existence has grown so monotonous that it has become rather tedious. Upon reaching maturity, I dutifully accepted my parents' wishes and married into a marquise. Eagerly, I prepared myself for the challenges ahead. Little did I know, the true drama of domestic conflict was only just beginning. With a formidable mother-in-law, a fickle husband, a malicious concubine, and a pretentious childhood friend, I am ready to dive into the fray, yet, as fate would have it, my life remains astonishingly fortunate. Before my marriage to Liu Xiao, we had never been acquainted. It was merely on a fateful day during the Lantern Festival that he caught a glimpse of my visage and found himself utterly captivated. Enchanted by my beauty, he approached my family with a marriage proposal. Despite the Liu family being of noble descent, their lineage is rooted in military achievements, with my father-in-law, the venerable Liu Linzhou, holding the esteemed title of Grand General, and my mother-in-law, Qiao Shi, a lady of noble birth from the Count of Loyalty and Valor's household, who had honed her medical skills through years of accompanying the army. In terms of social standing, we were indeed a well-matched pair. However, while I lacked any exceptional talents in music, chess, calligraphy, or painting, I was blessed with an alluring countenance. My mother-in-law harbored reservations about me, yet her son's affection prevailed. After our union, Liu Xiao tentatively inquired whether I wished to reside closer to my family, as the Liu family's wealth could easily accommodate the purchase of an additional home. I understood his concern. He feared that his tempestuous mother might harm this delicate flower. In matters of warfare, I would surely fall short, but within the confines of the household, I was quite adept. Qiao Shi embodied the quintessential noblewoman, exuding grace and charm. Influenced by her military background, she possessed a carefree disposition devoid of guile. Although she held a certain disdain for my flirtatious demeanor, she refrained from imposing undue difficulties upon me, even excusing me from the customary morning and evening salutations for the sake of tranquility. Yet, amid this tranquil existence, I found myself yearning for excitement. Each day, I pondered where I might seek amusement. It was at this juncture that my father-in-law returned from an expedition. He had ventured out alone but returned accompanied by a woman. Upon receiving news of his arrival, I, along with my mother-in-law, hurried to greet him at the entrance. A flood of memories surged within me. The general had returned, bringing with him a pregnant woman. However, the focus of the narrative had shifted to my mother-in-law. Clad in armor and astride a magnificent steed, my father-in-law approached. My mother-in-law intended to step forward to welcome him, but her smile froze as she beheld the woman in his arms. With a single glance, I discerned that this was no ordinary guest. The woman, dressed in delicate white, languidly leaned against my father-in-law's chest, her attire artfully designed to accentuate her curves. Supported by him, she approached, poised to kneel before my mother-in-law. "Sister, having intruded upon your household, I humbly request your mercy for my sister." Tears glistened in her eyes, painting a picture of pitiful vulnerability. What a wretchedly delicate lotus she appeared to be. Though my mother-in-law felt somewhat flustered, she did not press the issue, and instead moved to assist her. The Lu residence is your home. There is no need for such display. Yet, my father-in-law interjected, ahead of her, drawing the woman closer. In the ensuing commotion, Lu Yingying fell into his embrace, conveniently fainting. Ignoring the onlookers, my father-in-law unceremoniously swept her up and strode through the gates. My mother-in-law's complexion turned ashen as she stood frozen, forcing a smile as she arranged a welcome for my father-in-law. The aroma of tea was thick in the air. I raised a handkerchief to mask my amusement. This tactic, a mere repackaging of old tricks, had been exhausted in the countless tales I had read. I could only wonder whether my principled yet fiery mother-in-law could withstand the onslaught of this new arrival. Not many days passed before Lu Yingying had summoned my father-in-law from my mother-in-law's quarters on several occasions under various pretenses. Eager to observe the unfolding drama, I found myself bereft of suitable reasons to interject. My frustration mounted. Finally, Lu Xiao returned from his official duties. When I inquired about Lu Yingying, he looked at me with confusion, his expression one of grievance as he removed his outer garment, revealing his broad shoulders and narrow waist. How amusing it was, even after all this time, that we still engaged in such playful banter. I licked my lips, gazing at him with longing. Darling, could you investigate Lu Yingying for me? His movement stilled, his hands pausing mid-action. Hua hua, a night of passion is worth 1,000 gold pieces. Have you not missed me during this time? Did you not proclaim that a man's abs are the finest dowry? With that, he closed the distance and captured my lips in a kiss, his voice husky. I have practiced for quite some time. Feel for yourself. Thus, I was compelled to prioritize my current tasks before attending to other matters. Those detestable capitalists showed no mercy. The next morning, I rose from bed, supporting myself with my hands on my waist. During breakfast, Lu Xiao summoned an elderly maid. Granny Tian has been with the household for many years. She accompanied my mother on her wedding day and surely knows more about the family matters. Granny Tian appeared eager to share her thoughts, and before I could even inquire, she divulged everything. Lu Yingying was, in fact, my father-in-law's distant cousin. Years ago, when the Lu family fell into disfavor, Lu Yingying's mother brought her to seek refuge with the Lu family. My father-in-law's mother had once stayed with the Lu family during her youth, fostering a bond of gratitude that led her to take special care of the mother and daughter. Lu Yingying enjoyed the same privileges as the young ladies of the Lu household. However, her mother was discontent with this situation. Seizing an opportunity when the elderly matriarch was away, she intoxicated the old marquis and climbed into his bed. Though the old matriarch was furious, the deed was done. Given Lu Yingying's mother's beauty and youth, the old marquis took her as a concubine. Lu Yingying, inheriting her mother's beauty, was also talented. She quickly became the darling of the city's elite at various banquets. Yet, she was still a lowly-born daughter, and the other matrons despised her mother's betrayal, ensuring Lu Yingying could never rise to the position of a legitimate wife. As the old marquis aged, Lu Yingying and her mother realized their security was waning and sought a new patron. My father-in-law, Lu Linyo, presented himself as the perfect candidate. Thus, Lu Yingying began her relentless pursuit of him. Initially, he remained unmoved. However, as the saying goes, a woman's pursuit of a man is like a thin veil. Who could resist the charms of a delicate beauty? Granny Tian spoke until her throat grew parched, taking a hefty sip of tea. Wiping her mouth, she exclaimed, "Both Lu Yingying and her mother are not virtuous women. They cannot survive without a man." I hastily fanned her, smiling as I pressed on. And then what? Did they succeed? Granny Tian rolled her eyes at me, her tone affectionate. Not in the least. Lu Yingying is far too clever. Entering as a concubine without a proper match would only make her a servant. Besides, they were publicly recognized as siblings. That would be scandalous. The more elusive she is, the more he will yearn for her. Eventually, the old marquis learned of their clandestine affair. To preserve his own dignity, he forbade the two from associating further. Although Lu Linzhou contemplated abandoning his title to pursue Lu Yingying, she tearfully declared she would always be his good sister and promptly married off with a generous dowry to a distant locale. Lu Linzhou had been betrothed to Qiaoxi before this, and after losing his first love, he fell into despair. Yet, upon being commanded to marry Qiaoxi, He departed for the frontier with his troops. The harsh conditions of the borderlands were not suited for a typical noblewoman, yet Xiao Shi proved resilient, living alongside the soldiers without complaint, unafraid of hardship and displaying remarkable intelligence. In time, Lu Linzhou recognized that his wife possessed not only admirable qualities, but also great beauty. The bond forged through shared peril rendered Lu Yingying's previous antics trivial. Lu Linzhou learned to cherish what he had, and eventually, they achieved glory, retired to the capital, and welcomed their son, Lu Xiao. Just as they were on the cusp of a tranquil life, who could have anticipated Lu Yingying's sudden return? My once wayward father-in-law, now seemingly reformed, brazenly embraced her in full view of the public? Something was certainly amiss. As the saying goes, if the mountain will not come to me, I shall go to the mountain. It has been quite some time since I last paid my respects to my mother-in-law. Although she does not express any expectations, I felt compelled to visit her this time. Regrettably, I struggled to rise early, and by the time I arrived in her courtyard, she had already gone for a stroll in the garden. Thus, I resolutely turned around to seek her out. The Lu family's garden is truly vast. Even after traversing it for over a decade, I still find myself in awe of such a splendid estate. Accompanied by my maid, I meandered through the garden. And just as I intended to take a moment's respite in the pavilion, I suddenly heard the voices of Lu Linzhou and Lu Yingying coming from behind the flower bushes. Curiously, I stealthily parted the branches to catch a glimpse. Lu Linzhou stood tall, hands clasped behind his back, facing a pot, his demeanor resembling that of a majestic pine. Beside him, Lu Yingying, fair-skinned and beautiful, with a graceful waist, held a handkerchief, weeping softly as she dabbed her tears. What a striking pair they made. Noticing Lu Linzhou's silence, Lu Yingying pressed the handkerchief to her forehead, feigning a swoon. He swiftly caught her. She looked at him with a face of relief, saying, "Brother, I knew you would not abandon me. You must have despised me for insisting on marrying another man." Her tears flowed freely as she lamented. She recounted that her marriage was forced upon her by the old marquis, who threatened her mother with disownment if she refused. Moreover, during that time, the national treasury was depleted, and the Lu family had to finance their military needs from their own pockets. To repay the Lu family's kindness over the years, she had no choice but to marry a wealthy local man far from home. However, upon marrying, her husband refused to provide any support. When she sought to divorce him, she was met with resistance, and as a mere woman far from her family, she could only write to Lu Linzhou for help, only to be informed by the gatekeeper that there was a new mistress in the household. Heartbroken by this news, she resigned herself to a life of misery. Her husband frequently sought the company of courtesans, openly bringing them home, completely disregarding her dignity as the legitimate wife. He would even strike her when intoxicated. Now, faced with a terminal illness, her husband had cast her aside. "Brother, my life has been unworthy. My only wish is to see you one last time, and I would be content. The heavens have not been unkind, for you have come to my aid." Lu Yingying wept like a rain-soaked pear blossom, appearing fragile. Lu Linzhou's brow furrowed in anger as he hoarsely questioned, "Why did you not come to find me sooner?" Lu Yingying lowered her gaze, looking pitiful. "Because I have always loved you. I did not wish to hurt your wife or those around you. But, do you not understand? I have never willingly accepted the role of your sister." Lu Linzhou straightened her posture. "Do not speak such nonsense. You are a lady of the Lu household, my sister. As long as I am here, no one shall bully you again." With that, he turned to leave, but Lu Yingying grasped his sleeve. "Brother, can you truly not forgive me? Even if I am nearing the end of my days, I seek no title. I only wish to remain by your side, not as a sister, but as your woman." Lu Linzhou fell silent for a moment before replying softly, "I will search for renowned doctors to treat your illness. Do not dwell on such thoughts." Having witnessed this dramatic scene, I felt a wave of nausea, but managed to suppress it. I straightened up, stretched, and looked up, only to find my mother-in-law's distressed face, startlingly close. I jumped back in fright. Listening in on such a conversation with one's mother-in-law is undeniably awkward. Yet, such matters are intolerable for any woman deeply devoted to her husband. "Mother, I apologize for rising so late today. I promise to come early tomorrow to pay my respects." I adjusted my skirt and, pulling my maid along, prepared to depart. After a few steps, I couldn't resist glancing back, noticing Qiao Shi still rooted in place. I couldn't help but feel pity for such a beautiful woman, wounded by a treacherous man. In ancient times, people married young. Qiao Shi is merely in her 30s now, and in modern times, she might be busily preparing for civil service exams. Shaking my head, I returned to study her swaying form. Mother, are you not being too indulgent with that woman? If it were me, I would have sent her packing long ago. Qiao Shi sighed, lowering her gaze, and replied helplessly, she is, after all, a young lady of the Lu family, the nominal sister of the Lord. What can I do? No matter how unwilling I am? What sister? Her surname is Lu. I clenched my fist, rubbing it thoughtfully, suppressing my excitement, and looked at her firmly. In our hometown, we would call such a person a green tea bitch. It's hardly a big deal. I shall handle it. Qiao Shi looked up at me in surprise, falling into silence. Ah, the stage is set. Lu Yingying, your retribution awaits, and I am its harbinger. Since I expressed my loyalty to Qiao Shi, I no longer needed to find excuses to visit her courtyard for entertainment. I must admit, upon entering her domain, the atmosphere felt akin to a tactical play from a novel about household intrigues. Qiao Shi, outwardly gentle, is actually quite straightforward. She is incapable of engaging in schemes and has no desire to compete with Lu Yingying over affections, leading her to become the sole victim of the situation. After Lu Yingying entered the Lu household, Lu Linzhou was frequently summoned by her under the pretense of ill health. Qiao Shi felt increasingly distressed, her complexion faltering. Yet Lu Linzhou reproached her for lacking magnanimity. In recent days, Qiao Shi has been unable to eat or sleep well, her appearance suffering greatly. Men, after all, are visual creatures. If Lu Yingying were a hideous crone, she would not have been able to entice anyone, would she? Thus, I often invited Qiao Shi out shopping, and on occasion, I arranged for a few charming young men to perform feats for her entertainment. Before long, the fabrics and styles we wore, as well as our headpieces, became the trendsetters of the capital. Our beauty soared to new heights. As for looking haggard, not in the slightest. Even Lu Linzhou garnered praise from his colleagues who invited Qiao Shi for tea on behalf of their wives, reflecting positively on him as well. One day, when Lu Xiao accompanied me to Qiao Shi's courtyard, we found Lu Linzhou engaged in a game of chess with her. After a period of neglect, he was particularly attentive that day, and the couple appeared harmonious, with Lu Linzhou handsome and Qiao Shi beautiful. I intended to leave quietly to avoid disrupting the atmosphere. But at that moment, Lu Yingying's maid rushed in. Master, Miss is having another bout of her ailment and insists on seeing you. Lu Linzhou, interrupted, expressed his annoyance. What's the rush? If she feels unwell, she should seek the estate doctor. I am not a healer. Though he spoke dismissively, he did not dismiss the maid. Instead, turning his gaze toward Qiao Shi, she remained impassive, but I knew her inner turmoil was reaching its limits. I had previously advised her that a man would not love you simply because you are hurting. He must feign indifference. I quickly approached them, feigning concern, and asked, Father, Mother, is Auntie unwell? My father has a renowned physician he has known for years. If needed, I could send a letter to summon him to examine her. It has been quite some time since the younger generation has paid their respects to her. It is the fault of the daughter-in-law. And does not Mother have experience treating soldiers during her time in the military? Why don't we visit Annie together today? Lu Linzhou, eager to find an excuse to rise, immediately agreed to my suggestion. Thus, our family of 4, accompanied by maids and attendants, made our way to Lu Yingying's courtyard. Lu Yingying's maid intended to announce our arrival, but I grasped her arm, saying, no need for formalities. Auntie is already unwell. We are family and can be casual. Lu Linzhou nodded in agreement, and as the maid opened her mouth to speak, I shot her a look that silenced her. I stepped forward, pushed open the door, and walked inside. Before I could pass the screen, a sudden sound of water reached my ears. To my surprise, this woman was bathing in broad daylight. Before I could fully comprehend the situation, a delicate and slender figure, draped in sheer fabric, leaped into my embrace, her hair still dripping. She curled up into a ball, tears streaming down her face, exclaiming, Brother, I thought you would never care for Yingying again. I just had a nightmare that left me drenched in cold sweat. I wanted to take a bath, but upon hearing your voice, I I cast a disdainful glance at my dress, now dampened by her, and awkwardly smiled, saying, "Dear cousin, do not fear. Our family will always care for you." In an instant, her body stiffened, and her sobs ceased. Lu Yingying raised her head, meeting my smiling face, then glanced past me at the figures behind. Qiao Shi, Lu Linzhou, Lu Xiao, and a dozen or so maidservants and attendants. She repeatedly covered her face, and then her chest with her hands, her brows tightly knit, clearly on the verge of tears again. After a moment of inner turmoil, she swiftly retreated behind the screen. Lu Yingying truly was a seasoned schemer, able to quickly regain her composure, even in such a predicament. My apologies. I just had a nightmare and embarrassed myself in front of everyone. After a brief pause, I changed my clothes and emerged. As she went in to change, I, too, took the liberty of freshening up in the adjacent room. Lu Xiao paced back and forth in front of me, making my head spin. "Just say what you need to," he urged. "Well," he scratched his head, "this woman seems a bit too much, you know? But rest assured, I kept my eyes tightly shut just now and saw nothing." "Look at that." Even Lu Xiao, with his obliviousness, could see something was off. It's merely self-deception for men to claim they cannot see through such a person. Perhaps we should take Mother and move out together. Out of sight, out of mind. No way. I shot him an incredulous look. If we all retreat like you and faced with a situation, our family would fall apart. And really, what is there to fear about such an old schemer? If you dare suggest such foolishness again, do not accompany me in the future. Once we were both dressed, everyone gathered in the living room. Lu Yingying, as usual, donned a fitted white dress. She walked in, her demeanor anxious as she knelt before Qiao Shi, saying, "I'm so sorry, sister-in-law. I didn't mean to. Please don't send me away." She repeatedly bowed her head on the ground, startling Qiao Shi, who quickly stood up to help her sit.
"What are you talking about?"
"When did I ever say I wanted to send you away?" With tears still glistening in her eyes, Lu Yingying picked up the teapot from the table, poured a cup of water, stood, and respectfully offered it to Qiao Shi. "Sister-in-law, I know I lack manners. It's just that I felt unwell and wanted my brother to spend more time with me. Please don't be angry with him, because of me. Drink some water first." Qiao Shi felt rather bewildered, her body trembling with suppressed anger. Yet she restrained herself and reached out to accept the tea Lu Yingying offered. Unexpectedly, just as Qiao Shi extended her hand, Lu Yingying's hand trembled, and the teacup fell to the ground, shattering into pieces. Lu Yingying herself tumbled to the floor. "Sister-in-law, I know you can't forgive me. I bear no grudge against you." From Lu Linzhou's perspective, it appeared that Qiao Shi had dropped the teacup first, then pushed Lu Yingying down. He stood up, visibly displeased. Qiao Shi could no longer hold back her emotions and was about to explode. In an instant I rushed forward, grasping Lu Yingying's hand and pulling her into my embrace. "Poor cousin, what have you endured all these years? You've become so distressed. Our family, the Lus, has served in the military for generations, risking life and limb for the country, with each member bearing their scars with pride. All are valiant heroes. And my mother is a rare heroine on the battlefield. Through all hardships, not a single tear has fallen. Surely, deep down, my cousin is truly a member of the Lu family. No matter how difficult the circumstances, she would not shed tears easily. What has shattered your spirit, my pitiable cousin? In our family, we kneel only to heaven, the earth, and the emperor. We cannot kneel before others without reason. I will help you rid yourself of this humble habit. Before I was married, I received guidance from a divine physician. Upon taking your pulse, I sensed your inner energy is unstable, likely due to some hysteria. That's why you have nightmares and are prone to hallucinations. I observed just now that Mother didn't even touch you, yet you fell." Lu Yingying was taken aback. She hadn't anticipated that this tactic would fail against me. My words not only reminded Lu Linzhou of his deep bond with Qiao Shi forged on the battlefield and the contrast between his resolute wife and Lu Yingying's constant tears, but they also elevated the moral standing of the Lu family in his eyes. Furthermore, they indicated that Lu Yingying herself was mentally troubled, leading to her misunderstanding Qiao Shi's intentions while offering her a flimsy excuse for bathing in public during the day. As a result, Lu Linzhou's earlier anger dissipated, replaced by a look of approval directed at me. I assisted Lu Yingying in sitting down and opened the conversation. I've heard that your family in the border town is quite affluent. Have they really been so stingy as to not hire a physician for you these past years? Surely you haven't grown accustomed to a life of luxury there, forgetting the indomitable spirit of the Lu family. How else could you be so prone to tears? Lu Yingying's expression changed instantly, her eyes glistening with tears as she looked at me. No, I could never forget that I am a Lu. Lu Linzhou spoke sternly. Yingying, as a young lady, you need not go to battle. However, we Lu family members must not appear weak or be looked down upon. Since you have returned to the Lu family, learn from your sister-in-law to avoid the impression that we are trivial. Moreover, you need not dress so plainly. If outsiders see it, they might think the Lu family mistreats you. Learn to adorn yourself from your sister-in-law and Hua. Lu Yingying was so angry her teeth nearly ground together, but she had to maintain an appearance of compliance, smiling and nodding. I nearly laughed out loud. Would she still wear those white dresses after this? With our first direct confrontation successfully navigated, Lu Yingying became considerably more subdued. At the very least, the act of feigning illness to distract Lu Linzhou had become rare. My relationship with Qiao Shi grew stronger as well. Within a few days, she sent various gifts to my courtyard, lychees from the north, fur cloaks from the border, and luminous pearls bestowed by the palace. Lu Xiao, somewhat disgruntled, remarked, "Mother, you've given away all these fine things. What am I to do to please my future wife?" Qiao Shi burst into laughter at her son's jest, teasing. It is said that once a man marries, he forgets his mother. Fortunately, my daughter-in-law and I are in sync. She recognized my kindness and no longer concealed it from me. Mother, you are too accommodating. Men must not be spoiled. The more you indulge them, the less they regard you. Besides being Lu Zhao's mother and your husband's wife, the most important thing is that you are yourself. Over a decade ago, who did not know the renowned Qiao family's heiress? And later, who does not remember the brave Lady Lu, who fought alongside General Lu? You hold the highest title among the noble ladies of the capital. Furthermore, your maternal family holds an extraordinary status. Otherwise, how would the Grand Princess have taken notice of us? And Lu Yingying? She is merely a homeless girl relying on others. Even if you were to eliminate her, would father truly turn against you for her? Absolutely not. I do not intend to incite you to commit any wrongdoing. What I mean is that we have the confidence to confront such a scheming green tea without fear. I know you come from a prestigious family, possessing extraordinary grace, and would never stoop to such lowly acts. But you needn't endure. Do as you please. In short, do not suffer any grievances. She is merely a desperate schemer clinging to old ties in hopes of elevating her status. Qiao Shi was momentarily taken aback by my words, and before she knew it, a smile escaped her lips. Exactly. That's the spirit. Initially, Qiao Shi had not appeared so dejected. I had seen her once before my marriage to Lu Xiao. The capital praised the harmony and deep affection between Lord Lu and his wife. At that time, they returned triumphantly from battle, riding side by side. Qiao Shi, with her hair elegantly tied and adorned in armor, radiated a brightness and cheerfulness that was rare among the typical young ladies of her standing. She was the kind of woman that one couldn't help but aspire to be like. Beside her, Lu Linzhou gazed at her with a quiet smile, his eyes filled with nothing but her. In our modern understanding, we know that children raised in loving households do not lack affection and are often more adept at loving others. From the very beginning, I never doubted Lu Zhao's feelings for me. Thus, no matter how much trouble Lu Yingying caused, I still believed that the bond between Lu Linzhou and Qiao Shi was not easily severed. Qiao Shi sought the house physician to attend to Lu Yingying, confirming that her head ailment was indeed real. As for its potential lethality, that remained uncertain. Therefore, I fulfilled my promise and wrote to the princess to request the divine physician's assistance, while the Lu family arranged a separate residence for Lu Yingying's treatment and recuperation. On the occasion of the Lantern Festival, a rare moment for the family to gather, we planned to venture out together to enjoy the lantern displays. After a while, Lu Xiao managed to win a plethora of lanterns for me. He was eager to continue, but I discreetly tugged at his sleeve to suggest, "You've monopolized all the lanterns. How will father showcase his talents?" Thus, we skillfully retreated, creating a world of intimacy for Lu Linzhou and Qiao Shi. To our surprise, not long after, Lu Lin'o hastily departed. He called for the horses in a flurry, instructing Lu Xiao, "The streets are crowded. Take care of your mother. Ying has been abducted by rogues. I must investigate. How could she have been suddenly kidnapped? Was it a ruse? Or a frame-up? No, I had to see for myself." Over time, Xiao Shi and Lu Xiao had grown quite familiar with my temperament. Thus, the three of us, in perfect unison, boarded another carriage to pursue him. However, Lu Linzhou was still a step ahead. By the time we reached the separate residence, he had already followed the trail to find Lu Yingying. I found it puzzling. Who would abduct an aging woman of no particular standing like Lu Yingying? Just as we were about to enter, we unexpectedly heard Lu Yingying's voice mingling with that of another man. The man, in a somewhat pitiful manner, pleaded, "Yingying, when do you intend to return home? I fear I shall go mad with longing." In the ensuing struggle, Lu Yingying seemed to have overturned something. "Let go of me. If Lu Linzhou sees this, he will not spare you. Why are you seeking me? Did we not agree never to meet again? What are you hiding from? I've seen every part of you. What do you mean never to meet again? You were my stepmother once, and I had no choice. Now that you are to part with father, we can be together openly." He suddenly became agitated. "Are you still thinking of your uncle? You see he possesses greater wealth, and you wish to abandon me. Don't you? Your family is formidable. Your uncle would never marry you." Suddenly, silence enveloped the room, only to be broken moments later by a mingling of gasps from both genders. "You must find a way to eliminate that woman." We three awkwardly retreated. That woman? It could only be either Qiao Shi or myself. From this conversation, it seemed Lu Yingying had already donned two metaphorical green hats for her husband and appeared to be entangled in ethical dilemmas, now attempting to ensnare Lu Linzhou for a third. Such betrayal was unthinkable. Qiao Shi wished to inform Lu Linzhou of the situation, but I stopped her. After all, without catching her in the act, she could easily deny everything and accuse us of slander. Thus, I hastily instructed Lu Xiao to investigate Lu Yingying's family's affairs and her life trajectory in the border city. Upon Lu Linzhou's return, Lu Yingying lamented her abduction by masked men, claiming that they abandoned her when she could no longer walk. The authorities had searched extensively but found no clues. Naturally, no clues would be found, for there had never been any rogues at all. Lu Zhao's efficiency was remarkable. He quickly unraveled the entire story, including the truth behind Lu Yingying's marriage. Initially, the Lu family had indeed arranged a match with the Zhang family for her. The intended groom was the young master of the Zhang family, yet Lu Yingying, enamored by the elder Zhang's power, had climbed into his bed before the wedding, thus nullifying the match with his son. To maintain family honor, the elder Zhang, without informing the Lu family, married Lu Yingying. Shortly thereafter, the elder Zhang's wife passed away, and Lu Yingying assumed the role of the legitimate Mrs. Zhang. However, her youth and restlessness led her to seek further excitement. While the elder Zhang was away on business, she once again took to the younger Zhang. Additionally, she had an inappropriate liaison with her own brother-in-law. Perhaps seeing the burgeoning power of the Lu family, she aimed to return and entangle herself with Lu Linzhou. Yet Lu Linzhou's profound affection for Qiao Shi made it impossible for her to succeed without resorting to desperate measures. The tales of her husband's infidelities and his abuse were fabrications. She had the elder Zhang wrapped around her finger, close to offering her the stars from the sky. He was not entirely ignorant of the affairs between his son and brother, but he preferred to turn a blind eye, believing as long as it did not cause a public uproar, it was best to let it be. However, the younger Mrs. Zhang was no pushover. She had issued threats against Lu Yingying in the border town. Thus, Lu Yingying was keen to return to the capital and cling to Lu Linzhou's formidable support. Lu Xiao, rarely serious in my presence, scolded coldly. "This woman is utterly shameless." His expression suggested he was ready to take action. I quickly approached him and wrapped my arms around his neck, playfully saying, "Darling, don't rush. Allow me to handle it." He turned to me, a hint of affection gracing his features. "Fine, play however you wish. I shall support you." During Lu Yingying's time at the separate residence, the relationship between Lu Linzhou and Qiao Shi flourished rapidly. Whether it was boating on the lake or sharing calligraphy, their affection for one another was evident. Upon Lu Yingying's return, witnessing their closeness infuriated her. Restarting a game halfway through was enough to drive anyone mad. One day, as Qiao Shi and I admired the flowers in the garden, Lu Yingying approached, casually plucking a peony to toy with, mockingly declaring, "Before my marriage." My favorite flower was the peony. My brother ensured it was planted in the garden, still blooming vibrantly today. Indeed, no matter how time passes, the essence of what one loves remains unchanged. Qiao Shi smiled lightly. "Sister, it is rare to see you dressed so flamboyantly today. You are quite the match for that peony. You know it well." Lu Yingying replied with a triumphant grin. "But only in pink and white."
"How old are you now?"
"Can you not afford any other colors?" Lu Yingying's face turned ashen. "Who says I am old? What nonsense are you spouting?" Qiao Shi stepped forward, scrutinizing Lu Yingying's face, and remarked seriously, setting aside everything else, "Your skin appears thicker than that of soldiers weathered by years in the frigid borderlands. Are you keeping that face or not?" Indeed, such a cultured individual could insult others without resorting to vulgarity. I admired her greatly and gave her a thumbs up. Qiao Shi had truly transformed. At that moment, however, Lu Yingying suddenly changed her previously arrogant demeanor, looking at us with a pitiful expression and grasping Qiao Shi's dress as if to topple herself into the lake. "Sister-in-law, please don't." In an instant I reached out, grabbing her hair and yanking her back. Qiao Shi, having a martial arts background, steadied herself after a brief stumble, but Lu Yingying was genuinely feeble. She tumbled into the bed of peonies, emerging with her face smeared in mud. "Auntie, you must be more careful. Hurry and wash up. This flower mud has been watered with plenty of night fragrance." Lu Linzhou and Lu Xiao approached from behind, noticing us huddled together. "Ah, you've arrived. Auntie nearly fell into the water just now. In my haste, I accidentally pushed her. Surely, Annie, you are magnanimous enough not to hold it against me?" Lu Yingying initially intended to stage another act of self-sacrifice, yet upon catching sight of her mud-streaked visage in the water, she nearly fainted. Nevertheless, her inner strength prevailed. And even in such a state, she did not hesitate to mock me. Truly, how well-bred she is. "Is this how your family instructs you to treat your elders?" Upon hearing this, Lu Linzhou frowned, for my elder is none other than the Grand Princess. And my mother has always relished bringing me to the Empress Dowager's palace for play. It is safe to say that I was nurtured under the Empress Dowager's care. To suggest that the Empress Dowager has provided insufficient guidance is preposterous. How dare the Lu family entertain such thoughts? Yingying, your behavior is becoming increasingly outrageous. Now that you have recovered, it would be best for you to choose a day to move out. Lu Yingying, momentarily at a loss for words, became so enraged that she truly fainted. I knew she would not depart so easily. She was merely biding her time for a grand scheme. As the saying goes, if there are no opportunities, then we shall create them. Soon, Lu Linzhou's 40th birthday arrived. Since our marriage, there had been a dearth of significant events in the household. After much deliberation, the family decided to host a grand celebration. This aligned perfectly with Lu Yingying's intentions, and she feigned willingness to celebrate Lu Linzhou's birthday before promptly announcing her departure. On the day of the banquet, nearly half of the capital's nobility attended, most accompanied by their families. Lu Yingying, adorned in a meticulously crafted pink gown veiled in delicate chiffon, her hair styled in an elegant high bun, radiated an ethereal charm that captivated the gaze of numerous older gentlemen upon her entrance. Initially, all seemed well, leading me to wonder if Lu Yingying had truly reformed. Alas, that was not the case. As the festivities progressed and libations flowed, I overheard a familiar male voice. Upon closer inspection, it was a retainer accompanying the Minister of Revenue. Wasn't this the very Master Zhang who had engaged in an affair with Lu Yingying? I intended to keep a close watch on Master Zhang, but he soon contrived an excuse to slip away. Thus, I remained by Qiao Shi's side to shield her from any potential conspiracies. At that moment, a maid approached to serve the dishes and accidentally spilled them all over me. Upon raising my gaze, I was met with an unfamiliar face. My gown now sullied. I had no choice but to follow her to the back courtyard to change. Meanwhile, Qiao Shi appeared to be slightly inebriated, and a servant came forward to assist her in resting. After changing, I returned to my room for a brief respite. When the time felt right, my maid entered with a beaming smile, exclaiming, "Young madam, there's excitement to behold." The next time I laid eyes on Lu Yingying, she was sprawled naked on the ground, her cascading hair shielding her modesty. The perimeter of the house had been cordoned off by guards, obstructing a throng of onlookers eager to witness the spectacle. Yet, two ladies found it impossible to be deterred, the wife of the Minister of Revenue and the wife of a wealthy family from the border town. Lu Yingying's predicament was certainly of their making. Meanwhile, the Minister of Revenue and Master Zhang lay atop Lu Yingying's grand bed, feigning unconsciousness, appearing as though they had been drugged. Only I knew that Lu Yingying was the sole victim of the drug, and it was she who had administered it herself. Originally, her plan was to ensnare Qiao Shi and me, only to be outmaneuvered by me instead. The men she had arranged for us had already been dealt with by Lu Xiao. As for the two gentlemen on the bed, one was a former admirer from her youth. Indeed, she had not limited herself to Lu Linzhou alone. She had pursued every eligible bachelor of renown within the capital. Coincidentally, the Minister of Revenue was the one with whom she had shared the deepest affections. When Lu Yingying, breathless and desperate, rushed into his embrace, he was utterly unprepared for the presence of another man in the bed. By the time he realized, his wife had already entered the room. The other gentleman of the Zhang family was none other than her husband's younger uncle, who had long harbored desires for Lu Yingying and was taken aback to encounter her in such a compromising situation, especially when she had essentially delivered herself to him. When Qiao Shi walked in, she beheld the same scene I did. However, being more modest, she averted her gaze after a brief glance and called for a servant to fetch a gown for Lu Yingying. Infuriated and humiliated, Lu Yingying charged at Qiao Shi, exclaiming, "You wretched woman! It is your fault I am in this predicament." However, she was swiftly kicked out by the approaching Lu Linzhou. The wife of Master Zhang, unable to contain her anger, stepped forward to slap Lu Yingying twice. Consequently, news of Lu Yingying's scandal spread throughout the capital, leaving her utterly mortified, and she vanished from the metropolis alongside the younger Zhang son. It remains uncertain whether she will willingly settle down and lead a subdued life with him. Following Lu Yingying's departure, Lu Xiao was summoned by Lu Linzhou to kneel in the ancestral hall as punishment. Feeling sympathy for him, I barged in to take the blame. Before I had knelt for even 2 minutes, Qiao Shi arrived as well. All the blame lies with me, the mother. But this time, the children are innocent. Please punish me instead. Lu Linzhou regarded the three of us with a bemused expression, letting out a resigned sigh. I am indeed furious. How could you carry out such deeds behind my back? What angers me more is why you all knew yet chose to conceal it from me. Am I not a part of your family? Next time there is need for scheming, may I not be included? We exchanged perplexed glances, struggling to comprehend. Was this truly the stern and composed Lord Lu we knew? It turns out that prior to our investigation, Lu Linzhou was already aware of all of Lu Yingying's actions. He had not wished for matters to become too scandalous, and expelling her was his way of providing some measure of closure to the late Lord Ho. He simply did not anticipate that Lu Yingying would target Qiao Shi and me. Later, it was rumored that Lu Yingying had grown dissatisfied with Master Zhang after he was cast out by the elder Zhang due to his lack of funds to indulge her whims, leading her to attach herself to a wealthy local merchant. However, the merchant was a gambler who soon squandered his fortune, ultimately selling Lu Yingying into a brothel. Upon hearing this news, Lu Linzhou exhibited no outward reaction. His daily life now revolved around dreams of retirement and traveling the world with Qiao Shi. As for me, I embarked on an unabashedly indulgent life with my love-struck husband. The end. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please remember to like and subscribe. Until we meet again in the next story.